good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of High Top Sports. It is the college game day recap show for week 9. It was a busy one. Of course, we got to go through our topics. All reliable, the rebound team, who bounced back. You like that? Who had a great week? You just punch in the mouth. Who got peeled off this week? There are plenty of options that we could go through. Let us know in the chat who you guys think it is before we get there. And then, of course, game of the week. I think most of you guys will know what we think the game of the week is. But again, let us know. Happy to have all of you here. Muddy, Colby, B. Bean, and Click Clements. Good to see all of you here. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring in the newly freshened up, fresh to death, spent $165 on this haircut, ladies and gentlemen, Cody, a.k.a. the Professor. Look at this guy, boys. Okay? Hey, hide your wives. Okay, because Cody's here to play. All right, dial it up. It's negative 35 where he lives. I think he's in Alaska. He's in the house, bundled up like it's snowing outside, drinking his whiskey and Coke, ready to go. How you feeling, big guy?
Yeah, man, it's brutally cold out. I mean, it's like 38 and rainy, so it's like that real wet cold. We got 15 degrees coming out of or 15 mile an hour coming out of the north. And we just cut all the beans out of that field, so it's a cold one. Super excited to be back. Hopefully everybody likes the haircut. Yes, I did go with the Napier special, but you know,
got the Billy Napier, but the bully Napier cut. Look, first of all, congratulations to you. The Minnesota Vikings got it done. However, Kirk Cousins is done. He will no longer be playing football. Ripped his Achilles a new one. I don't think he has that dog in him like Aaron Rodgers does. So, I hate it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, this might be the last time we see Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. He's aging, his contract's up, and you blow your Achilles. And it's one of those things where I don't know if Minnesota brings him back after that.
It's gonna be tough. I hate it. I love me some Kurt. Hey, what's up, Mama? How are you? Garrett Bull. What's up, big dog? Good to see you, man. Muddy says, I want my credit and flowers for calling that Kansas upset. Hey, you're not wrong. You look at me, a broken clock strikes twice, every now and then too, right? I mean, you've been calling Kansas every week. You're bound to get one of them right. But yes, they did a phenomenal job, which of course we'll be talking about then. That's kind of gives you a hint on where they might be, which option they might be. Who knows? But first order of business, old reliable, boys and girls. Let's get it. The Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia takes Florida to the woodshed, according to old Cody, the Professor here. It was, look, as a Gator fan, it was tough to watch. It hurt. I'm getting over it. You know, we're over the 24-hour mark now of the game being completed. But Georgia looked like the number one team in the country. They kind of started finding the rhythm the last few weeks here, but we had Uncle Lou on Wednesday. And he was nervous, not nervous to lose to Florida, but just not understanding what the identity for Georgia was, right? He kind of talked about it. They don't have that nasty linebacker or those nasty D linemen they've had over the past few years. But I said to him, I said, look, you may not have those things, but you still got Kirby Smart. You still have an elite recruiting class, one after the other. And most importantly, you have Carson Beck, who's much better, in my opinion, than Stetson Bennett. What Stetson Bennett gives you, though, is that dog mentality to pull you out of, the grave if you're down and out, and kind of had that back against the wall mentality his entire life. So they still haven't really faced any true adversity. So that's the one question mark, I think, that, can Carson Beck punch somebody in the mouth without Brock Bowers? Florida didn't even give them, he didn't have an opportunity to put their back against the wall. But that's not me being a hater. I think Georgia's going to be just fine. I think their biggest test is going to be the SEC tournament. Now, they've got Tennessee. I think Tennessee has the firepower to try to keep up with them. But defensively, I just don't think Tennessee's going to be able to hold a candlelight to Georgia to be able to slow them down at all. But all reliable, right back into the swing of things. I mean, they're like, Bama has this segment was created from Saban and Bama because you kind of just turn the TV on and go, yeah, that game's a wrap no matter what happens. And that's what Georgia has been, winning 25 in a row now, taking down Florida. What were your thoughts, Cody? You didn't call in yesterday, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, sorry, I was at a poker party, and my family has like a once-a-year poker party. And so it was at that. Oh, I did not call in. I was busy trying to drink and play poker and not deal with the loss. And it's one of those things where it just shows us that that we just got outclassed again yesterday against a very, very good Georgia team, and it's gonna take probably another one or two recruiting cycles before we get it leveled out to where if you make a mistake, the game isn't over. Um, at this point with Florida and the roster, you make 2 mistakes and the game is over against a top 10 team. That's just the fact. We don't have the horses to pull us out. Eugene Wilson is an absolute star, but he can't do it all. Could you imagine if we could have like 2 or 3 of him on the field
Well, also
of guys like that?
some guys to guard for Graham Mertz, so we can get it to multiple guys like that too
Yeah.
as well. What sucks is that, look, I mean, I think as Florida fans and a lot of people were frustrated with how it went yesterday. We were excited, we were pumped up with the momentum that we had over the last few weeks, especially headed into this game. The Kool-Aid was in full motion, pumped into the IV, and I don't regret it being that pumped in, but what it did was it was a humbling. I had to take a piece of humble pie for sure. It's like, man, the gap is much greater than we realized, and that's what's upsetting. Muddy says Billy walked into a mess. Heck, even Kirby took shots at Dan Mullen yesterday for not liking recruiting. And look, I think I talked about on the Sunday show. I think recruiting obviously is a factor, but Billy's starting to get his guys in. But the biggest where we're starting to really see where the gap was dropped is the trenches. And we did a little bit of work in the portal. For us to really be effective, I think we've got the weapons. I think the wide receiver core is coming into place. Running back room, I think we've done a great job. I think Graham Mertz is going to come back next year like that, especially with the combo of DJ Lagway. We could see a leak, Tebow-esque scenario there. Again, the linebacker class that's coming in is absolutely incredible. The defense that is coming in is going to be stout. The D line, no matter how great they are still going to take time. So we have to be extremely aggressive in the portal here and take a page book out of what Norvell's done over and Lane Kiffin as well to an extent, what they've been able to do with their schools and be as aggressive as we can. We've spent the buck in recruiting. We got to go drop a bill on the transfer portal and bring in some legitimate elite O linemen. We didn't recruit well at all for the last 2 years in O line. We lost a lot of people on the O line to the portal last year. We are as thin as it could possibly be. We've got size, but size ain't cutting it. We need speed. We need twitch muscles. We need everything. So it's going to be interesting to see what we do in the portal if we want to be
I
competitive sooner rather than later.
I ask you this, some of the big guys that we missed on last year in the O-line, just because obviously Billy didn't have anything, um, just Miami being Miami and just an odd recruiting cycle, right? If we could have got um, like one of those guys that Miami got,
Samson
how much does
Okinola,
that help us?
Samson Okinola and Francis, who we were both in it for. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're looking at that going, man. I wish we would have sold the farm on that. We were offering Jaden Rashada $13 million. Hey, keep your 13. I'm going to give 8 to both of these guys. Let's rock with it because they would have had a whole season this year, which would have been great for them to grow under. And now we're rolling into next season with those two guys, plus whatever we do in the portal, plus Austin Barber's got under his belt, Jake Slaughter, Cameron Waits. I mean, yeah, all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're here, but we swung and missed on a lot. And we're swinging and missing again this year. So we've got a couple coming in, but it's not gonna be enough. We need some more guys. That's just is what
yeah.
it is. But
That
that's
that puts the priority on the big offensive lineman that we're swinging for now on Seaton, right?
yeah, no, 100%. Unfortunately, I think
That shows you.
everybody's swinging at him. He's the only one left, and it's kind of like one of those supply and demand kind of things. I think the price is going up because you're looking around and guys don't really have their pieces put together, but Seaton's out there going, I'm still available. So whatever you guys want to throw at me, I'm here to listen. That's how it's appearing right now. Boys and girls, over 50 people in here thus far. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe for brand spanking. Then one of the 18,000 subs, a little bit less than 200 subs before we hit 18,000. So absolutely incredible. Well, Cody, let's bounce into the rebound team of the week here. Louisville, just after being, what were they last week? What were they a part of last week when they lost, or 2 weeks ago? I think they may have been peeled off. I don't know who they were on, but we talked about them. I was frustrated. They let me down. They broke my heart. And then they come out and look like the Louisville team that I thought they could be and just destroy the two lost Duke team with the starting quarterback and just manhandle them. Now, it wasn't Louisville. Obviously, they went to Pittsburgh and lost in Pittsburgh, but getting it done against a team like Duke in the fashion that they did, it seems that they're going to be now in the ACC championship. We talked about on a Saturday show, or do they have a path to the ACC championship? And now it seems that that they're locked in because UNC once again just disappoints me. I don't understand what's going on over there with Mac Brown and those boys, but you had a team to get it done this year, and you dropped the ball once again. So Louisville, who just went, going up against a Duke team who just played an FSU team, just dominated. Running the ball, I mean, they ran all over them. I think, what was the over 150 yards rushing? Defensively, just shut them out with, a goose egg them.
Yeah. Yeah, it really shows against a top Duke defense. Now, this defense is no slouch, guys. This is a very aggressive, very hard hitting, um, smart. They have speed on the field, and Louisville just took it to them. The run. They couldn't stop the run game. They got a kid, Jakeem Jordan, I think is his name. Don't don't kill me if I butchered the first name, but the kid is just he's an NFL back and he's really good. And it's one of those things where he just ate him up, and then everything else opened up off the run game. The pass game opened up. Louisville's really not known for throwing the ball, but they had a wide receiver, Thrush. He made a couple big catches, but is because that defense had to suck all the way up to go against the run. And as soon as they did that, they lit them up with slants. They lit them up with fades, and Duke had no answer.
Yeah, and don't forget they got Jack Plummer, the Purdue transfer through on that team. So they've got some veteranism back there. But yeah, Jahar Jordan, 21 carries for 163 yards, averaging almost 8 yards a carry with 2 touchdowns. But defensively,
you're gonna win a lot of games like that.
Oh yeah, and it's going to be interesting. Again, it seems that it's going to be FSU Louisville at the moment, and I mean, look, FSU. We're going to talk about them later on in the show. That's going to be a tough team to beat, but we'll see how Louisville matches up with them. Unfortunately, Louisville really let me down with that Pittsburgh loss. I felt like that was just a bad loss. Again, I guess traveling to Pittsburgh, it's cold, nobody was there. How do you get excited for that? But it was a tough loss to say the least. So. Look, great win for them. I'm glad to see them rebound and bounce back. And look, now we've talked about it. I mentioned it a few weeks ago. Pittsburgh was the least of my worries on their schedule. When I saw that, I was like, look, these guys, their only question mark was going to be Duke. Now they've got Virginia Tech, Virginia, Miami. Miami's probably going to give them some fits. It's in Miami. So Miami at the point when I talked about that was kind of whatever. But Miami's finding a little bit of a rhythm, struggled against Virginia. But then they got Kentucky, but that Kentucky game's at home, and I think Kentucky is losing their wind here and just basically becoming Kentucky. So, look, the ACC is going to be an interesting one. It appears to be FSU's conference to lose at this moment, unfortunately. And if that's the case, it could be an FSU matchup. They could be a Final Four team, which I've been, secretly not wanting. But it appears that they might be headed there. Now, Florida has a chance to ruin that, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. So, Stephen A., what's going on, big dog? Good to see you, my man. Much love. Hey, Champs Corner tomorrow, boys. 8:35. Don't be late. But hey, Lou puts the ill back in Ville. I don't know if you guys saw the first one though. I said Kirby lets the dogs out. I mean, they're just great lines. I want to make sure I get appreciation for my headlines there. I mean, they're good. So that's all. All right, boys and girls, let's move into our next segment. You like that? You like that? You like that? FSU, back-to-back weeks as you like that team. Again, felt like they handled business against Duke and Wake Forest. It was a game we talked about on the Saturday show with Steve, obviously our FSU insider. The concern being against Wakey at noon, that slow mesh offense could have tripped up FSU, but you know what Wakey was missing was old Sam Hartman. And that was the big factor there. It was close for a minute. Wake Forest was kind of hanging around going into the second quarter, but the better team pulled away. Trey Benson found his rhythm. Not necessarily rushing the ball. I think he had 4 catches for 100 yards. His speed is insane. Get that man the ball. And that's what concerns me about this football team being able to kind of just roll through the remaining of their schedule is their ability to pop off and get it done. Defensively, I still think secondary, there's some question marks, but that D-line is a force to be reckoned with, and they proved that against Wake Forest this past weekend. And look, their schedule outside of Miami and Florida, in that Florida game, the reason I mentioned that's not me being like, oh, Florida, it's a rivalry game, right? But they've got Pitt next week at Pittsburgh, which you could roll into that one, get a little sleepy time. I don't know. Probably not. I'm reaching here. Then you got Miami. Then you've got a walk-on game as you stroll into Florida at Florida. So look, you got a easy one, and then you've got Miami, which is at Doak. So that's gonna be great. But that game's gonna be a ruckus. They stomped Miami last year. Miami definitely circled that game. But right now, man, FSU looks unstoppable. Little sneak peek here. They're in our top 5. I had to. I got to show them some love. So
Yeah, I don't watch much Miami football, but I'm telling you, we're gonna see if Ruben Bain can kind of corral and handle Travis, because it hasn't Jordan Travis. It hasn't happened all year. Nobody's been able to corral him, or last year. The guy just he rolls out, he gets plays, he throws them to everybody. Coleman had a couple big catches. Like you said, the running back had a couple big catches. It's a scary team, and this is what we talked about in the preseason. Even before I was with this channel, me and Holly talked about it, and I had them in my college football playoffs because they are so loaded everywhere. They're veteran. Now, after this year, they're gonna plummet. I mean, they're gonna flatline. But this is the year for Norvell to go win his natty. They are set up for it. They have the defensive line. They did good things in the portal, and they got weapons everywhere. Jordan Travis's last year, he's been healthy all year, which has been the knack, right? Knock on wood that he stays healthy the remainder. But that's always been the knack, is that he can't ever stay healthy, and that's why they lose games. He's staying healthy. He looks elite. And I'm just going to tell you right now, FSU is a problem for a lot of teams because they have weapons every year. The only thing, like you said, is the secondary. Can they clean up that secondary enough to beat some of these teams if they make it to the playoffs?
that's going to be the thing, right? I think they're, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, these teams that are undefeated still, that are more likely going to be potential matchups, have that same ability to pop off when needed, but are more complete. I think FSU's close. But yeah, Daniel Riviera, this is a good point. They remind me of somebody else because FSU reminds me of TCU. $2. Thank you, Daniel, for your support, man. They remind me of Tennessee a little bit. Now, they're better than Tennessee, but my reason for that is lightning in a bottle, right? Now, TCU made it all the way to the championship, but it was a very high-tempo offense that got exposed defensively by Georgia, obviously. So we'll see how that plays out. Again, the ACC and their path getting to the playoffs seems fairly easy, right? That Florida game and the Miami game, they're rivalry games, so you have to pay attention to them. But on paper, FSU, is a more standout team. But we'll have to see. Look, again, a lot of it is in the portal. A lot of those guys are leaving. I mean, I would a great portion of that team will be entering into the draft, and we'll see, because this is where FSU fans have been beating the drum about how great Mike Norvell is. Well, we'll see how great the recruiting class has been. We'll see how things are developed, because again, all their key players are all transfer players, which I'm not hating on it. That's just a fact. I mean, he's doing a great job of getting them over and putting them in the right place and making them effective. So kudos to you. Can continue to do that as you continue to build classes. It can work. And Muddy, great little fun fact here. For the first time in college football history, through 10 weeks, there are 8 undefeated teams. Insane. Now that's considering James Madison, Air Force. Who else do we got? Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia. Who am I missing? There's a couple other smaller. Florida State. That's 6. I can't think of the other 2 right now, but we'll see. We'll see.
Ohio State hasn't lost one, have they?
I said Ohio State.
Okay.
It's gonna be some weird smaller school like James Madison. I said Air Force. They're undefeated.
Yeah, it'd be like a Tulane
Washington.
or something.
Washington's number 7.
Washington, yeah.
And maybe it's Tulane. Could be Tulane. Can't remember. But yeah, it is very interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see. Oh, Liberty.
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 It wasn't Tulane. Because they played Ole Miss and lost that game. Oh, a tight one to Ole Miss.
Oh, that's right. That's right. All right, boys and girls, let's move on to our, the best segment of the week. You've been peeled off.
Son, okay.
You won't be needing that one anymore.
Utah just getting absolutely obliterated at home. Remember, we heard about it. They hadn't lost at home. They've been undefeated. They're cruising at Rice Ellis Stadium. It was cold out there, but Bo Nix and the boys showed up. You got barbecue back there and didn't invite me? Hurt my feelings. And showed up, showed out, and got the business done. I mean, just stomped them. And look, I believed that Oregon versus Washington game, although Washington pulled it out, I said, look, this is going to be a preview more than likely to the Pac-12 championship. I'm doubling down on that. USC is absolutely utter, just complete and total dog shit of a football team. They barely squeaked by California yesterday. They're not going to make it with 2 losses. Utah's not going to make it with 2 losses. You've got Washington now and Oregon set to meet again. And look, that's where things are going to get dicey. If Oregon takes down Washington, what do you do? Because hell of a schedule. Oregon has not had a limpy schedule by any stretch of the imagination, and you go back, you win the Pac-12 championship. Look, it's not my problem. I have to pick those teams, but look, I'm a big fan of Oregon. I like Bo Nix a lot. I think he did a great job. They ran the ball. They just look defensively. I thought Utah was going to be able to keep it close. I actually picked Utah because again, undefeated at Rice Ellis. Defensively, I think Utah does a great job. Thought they'd be able to keep it close. I know they don't have Cam Rising. He's out for the season, which concerns me because probably Cam's going to be able to come back because he's going to have like a COVID / redshirt / like, hey, I'm at Utah season and get to come back. But, you know, it was Oregon went in and did what they needed to do. I thought it would be much closer. But defensively, that's why I thought Oregon was going to be able to beat Washington. Showed that defensively they're a sound football team, but offensively they can get it done too. What were your thoughts?
Boy, I tell you, man. I thought it was going to be closer for sure, just because Utah's defense is pretty good. But you know, Oregon and Bo Nix they just bludgeoned them. It wasn't close after about the third quarter. They started driving away and it was done. But it's one of those things where could Oregon do it? Could they beat Washington in the Pac-12 championship, and then can they make a college football playoff? Or what do you do if you're the CFP? Can you put 2 Pac-12 teams in there if they're both one loss?
With as many undefeated teams as there are, I don't know what's going to happen because FSU right now seems like they're going to have a big.
You can't put an Air Force in there.
No,
but you got to put somebody.
You're going to have Michigan or Ohio State. There's one, an SEC team. There's 2, and then FSU look like 3. And then it's going to be the winner of the Pac-12 right now. And look, the Big 12 too. I mean, you're going to.
Who's the winner?
I mean, if Oregon beats Washington, or Oregon gets in over Washington, I promise.
Yeah,
that's how it works
later in the season.
Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah, that's why look, sometimes losing isn't always that big of a deal. But the problem is that Oregon has to have other things happen in front of them. They control their destiny in the sense of the Pac-12 and they're line to it. But if there's other teams that they can't play that are undefeated, now Oklahoma losing is huge. So now you're gonna have a decision. Let's say it plays out. Let's say Air Force losing. Let's take all these like undefeated. Like those guys wouldn't get in anyways. But let's say it's Michigan, Georgia's undefeated, Michigan's undefeated, and FSU's undefeated. Let's keep it simple. Then you've got a Oregon team that beats Washington, so you take out another undefeated team, a 1-loss Pac-12 championship, and then you got Texas and Oklahoma. Let's just say Texas because F Oklahoma. You get 2 1-loss a Pac-12 and a Big 12 champion. That's where it's going to get dicey. Who do you pick? If it's Texas, I think Texas gets the nod just because they're a big brand. If it's OU versus Oregon, it's going to be close. It's going to be interesting. Look, I don't know how that plays out, but just with the landscape of college football, again, other things have to happen. And every time that I think like, oh, how could this play out? How could this happen? It never turns into that anyway. So this what if situation probably won't happen anyways because it never does, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I feel bad for the college football committee that has to pick it, but
to be fair, though, look, think about the last few years. It feels like if that's the case, if that's the issue, hell of a Final Four any way you decide to go. It's going to be a good Final Four. Real quick, I know we've got Game of the Week here, but we have a hot seat take. And the reason why I want to jump to the hot seat take is because we just got some breaking news. I saw in the comments. I looked it up. It is a fact. Jim Harbaugh here. He's not been fired, so calm down, Cody. Talk about Jim
No,
Harbaugh.
but I put it down here. Right here in the bottom section. His buyout will not be, or his extension will not be.
And that just broke, Cody. And Cody wrote
And
this.
I wrote this. I wrote it. What do you want from me? Boy, I love when Daddy's fucking right. Jesus, I just swing and I just fucking hit him. I'm the mystic, man. I'm like Conor McGregor pulling his shots. Yep, that's how I'm gonna do Aldo.
I love how he came back and Cody just fucking. He's like, I knew it. I told you. He goes, yeah, read it and weep, boys. Read it and weep. Let's go back to it here again, Cody. This was made 30 minutes ago. Yeah, these are his takes that he puts together. He always does the graphics, so if there's any misspelling, this is why. Jim Harbaugh getting slammed in Stein ceiling, which we're gonna get into a little bit deeper here. So what came out here just recently, in the last 24 hours, and the article was great because the article was just like how I was, where I was like, I really didn't care. I was like, what are we doing here? But it gets deeper. He's selling. He was doing it for the SEC teams. I guess he had that guy going out to SEC teams and then selling them to other coaches. Is Shane Beamer being
manipulate? Yeah, Shane Beamer. I think Saban is one of them that might be in this. He was trying to manipulate the college football playoff landscape to teams that they wanted to play. He was trying to rig the playoffs to teams that they wanted to play. How wild is that? And how long has he been doing it?
And here's the thing. Here's why all this is crazy, right? Because obviously the allegations for Burgergate came out, kind of took it on the chin and then moved on. I also was reading an article before the show we talked about. I can't remember the guy's name, but he blackballed Harbaugh in the interview. He was on the board of the Minnesota Vikings and blackballed Harbaugh. Remember Harbaugh, like when MIA thought Michigan was done, he's out here hunting for a job, interviewed for the Vikings, got blackballed by this guy who is a Michigan alum. This guy is now a part of the NCAA committee and hates Harbaugh. And apparently this information is being dropped. Because I said this 2 weeks when we talked about it on the Wednesday show. I go, somebody's out to get him. Because this shit is just coming out of left field. Like, everybody knows that everybody's cheating and doing these things to a certain extent. But why Harbaugh? Why is he being dragged, right? Like, who's doing this to him? And I go, it has to be somebody from the inside. Well, there you go. You got a Michigan alum who's close to everything out there just breaking the news and dragging him. And look, because of the allegations that happened earlier this year, anything that comes out now, and because there was the truth of the sign stealing, right? There's evidence now of this guy going around. Like, it's anything that's being said now, anything that's going to get thrown out there is going to get looked at this point. And it doesn't matter how egregious it is. If there's a little bit of truth to it, they're going to have to look into it. I am shocked. I am shocked here. I don't know what's going to happen, how this plays out, because Michigan has been my team to pick for the championship. What's also hilarious to me, and this is like a complete like sidebar really quick, is Portnoy, a big Patriots fan. Obviously, they had the sign stealing gate scenario, which he was a defensive Patriots, and now we have Michigan, and he's on full force defending Michigan. I think it's ironic that you have, follow along here, he's a fan of both teams. He went to Michigan, and he's from that area. Tom Brady went to Michigan, drafted by the New England Patriots, associated with a sign-stealing situation. So, I mean, how deep does this really run? Am I reaching here? Or is this something that, again, is through
and how long?
How long? Like, it seems like it's almost been passed down. And that's my other thing is, like, look, if they're doing it and it's being sold and other teams are buying it, that tells me, like, that it's just, again, everybody is cheating. It just, who do you piss off? You know what I mean? It's wild.
I'm just praying it's not that I don't see Billy Napier and the Florida Gators in this sign stealing escapade, because I'm here to tell you,
if we're fucking stealing signs and getting our ass clapped,
that's true.
Guys, bro, if
if we know the call and we
if
still can't get the defense lined up,
if we get pegged for stealing signs, Cody, do you know how bad that's gonna look? We're gonna, you know how that's.
I don't think Napier's that
I'm pretty
type
sure
of guy.
Shane Beamer's a part of that, and they're getting absolutely clapped. So that's pretty embarrassing. Yeah, he doesn't. I wish he would. I think he should. That's clearly why we're losing, because we're not doing that.
My thing is there's three things to this. What they're gonna do, the NCAA is gonna call the IRS, and they're gonna say, listen, this is being sold. We want you to send a forensic investigator out to find out who paid the money. And the last thing you want is an IRS forensic investigator that does this all day long for businesses, that has taken out the mob and everybody else. The last thing you want is somebody looking around and seeing where has the money been spent and what they're going to find out. I don't care what shell companies or dummy organizations are using. They're going to find out. Number two, I feel that everybody knew Jim Hardball was doing this. Everybody was okay with it because obviously he was selling the information to other teams in the SEC, and I think that's if you get caught with that is a shame. Something should happen to your program. You should lose recruiting. You should get hit with recruiting.
SMU type stuff, right? Death penalty, right?
SMU,
I mean, it's got to be.
It's big. And number three, it just goes to show you that it's disgusting, is what it is. When the grand scheme of things, it makes you wonder, how deep does it go to Vegas? And the first time that you start thinking that stuff is rigged, it's not good. It's not good for college football. It's not good for the landscape of these.
It ruins the integrity of the game. Yeah, look, I think
correct.
a big thing too, like you said, with recruiting. I mean, they have a pretty healthy recruiting class right now. We lost an O-lineman to them just recently, Jake Guarna from Ponte Vedra. I probably butchered that last name, but. A great young kid, but he went to Michigan. They have they have the number one offensive lineman in the country the past 2 or 3 years, so they know what they're doing when it's recruiting offensive linemen. Is this going to shake things up a little bit? And if I'm Billy, right, you got to attack why the iron's hot. But here's what the article says here. Let me read this really quick here. The move is the first sign that the school may be hesitant about its future relationship with the famed coach who revived its football program, and it's frequently cited as a candidate for a job in the National Football League. Harbaugh's pay had been cut during the pandemic, but he was given a new contract just last year after bringing the team back to national prominence. The Wolverines' title chase this year put him in line for another raise. Michigan recently had made him an offer that would have made Harbaugh the highest-paid coach in the Big Ten before the school pulled out once the sign-stealing allegations rocked the school, person said. This broke 7 minutes ago. So, huge. Give Reggie Bush his Heisman back. I couldn't agree more, BB. That shit's stupid.
My last question is: Can the NCAA can't fire him, but they can ban him, correct? Like, obviously, he's going to get a big suspension for this.
Yeah, I think they can they're just
banned
penalties,
for life.
and I mean, if they say, hey, you can't coach for a team, I mean, I don't think they can actually fire him from the school, but they can give him enough.
Can they ban him?
I mean, just like the guy from Tennessee, he's unable to coach at a Power 5 school the first year he goes back. I can't think of his name at the moment, but
yes,
not Butch.
I know you're talking
about.
No, the guy that kicked the whiteboard.
I don't know about that, but he because he has a penalty. He can't, even no matter how long he's out for. Once the team brings him in, he has to sit out that first year. So I mean, they're basically keeping him out of the league without keeping him out of the league. You know what I mean?
Now, do you penalize everybody that's involved? Do you penalize if Shane Beamer's involved? If
yeah, that's gonna be crazy, right?
Saban is involved.
Do
you penalize everybody?
Well, look, I think that's where it's gonna be interesting because, one, I mean, if they pull all those allegations out, they're gonna get every single name, and that's what's gonna be interesting to see how they manage that, right? How do they what names are involved and how dirty this is? Jeremy Pruitt, thank you, Muddy. It's gonna be a fun one to watch this thing play out. It sucks. I hate it because why can't we just have a college football season without it being complete nonsense? But Here we are. Boys, let's get into the last little segment here. Game of the week. Great game. We skipped, hot seat was supposed to be our last one, but it is what it is. Game of the week. OU gets Jade on. I mean, first of all, shout out to our producer for just the headlines. Kansas Jayhawks. Muddy said obviously at the beginning of the show he wants his flowers. He's been picking them all year. Defensively, they're a great football team, and look, they're a really good 6-2 football team now as well. I think he picked them to play in the Big 12 championship. There's hope, but they need another loss from OU for that to happen, and I don't know if OU is going to have that on their schedule. A conference loss for OU. This was a great game. Came down to the wire. OU couldn't stop a nosebleed. Kansas marched down with like a minute and 50 left, I think it was, to get it done. Again, nobody did really anything crazy or spectacular. They ran the ball like nobody's business, 25 carries for 112 yards. Dylan Gabriel, only 19 attempted throws because they were running the ball very well, obviously being cold. Maybe the ball was a little bit tough. I don't know. But they ran the ball for 146 yards. And, you got a Heisman, not type candidate, but a Heisman, potential maybe next year candidate at quarterback. Only thrown the ball 19 times. Very interesting there to go down against Kansas Jayhawks. And Oklahoma, look, I thought they were going to be, soaring to the top here. They've got Oklahoma State next week at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State hasn't looked anything fantastic, but it's just like that Florida State game. It's a rivalry game, and it's going to be at OU. And Oklahoma State started to find the rhythm a little bit. They're on a 4-game win streak, taking down Kansas State, taking down Kansas, taking down West Virginia, and taking down Cincinnati. They're on a little bit of a burner right now. And that could be a force to be reckoned with. Taking down Kansas State and Kansas, the team that they just lost to, OU might be in trouble here with their season very quickly. So we'll see how that plays out. But again, and after that, their schedule's pretty cake. They don't really play anybody. They play West Virginia, BYU, and TCU. It doesn't have the same weight, but it's not going to be a smooth sailing for them. That's for sure. And then of course they want to make it to that Big 12 championship. But what were your thoughts on that game there? It was game of the week, Air Codes.
Yeah, so it was the perfect script for a upset. Number one, it was cold, it was rainy, it was nasty. Like 39 degrees on the field. It was like that cold, misty rain on and off. They had to do a weather delay while Kansas had momentum. And then they just came out and they hung with them and they hung around. And when you leave a underdog in the game, he's going to bite you at the very end, and that's exactly what happened. OU's defense has not been what OU's defense was early in the season. I don't know if they're just playing better talent. I don't know if they have a injury problem. I'm just telling you that does not look like the same OU defense from the very beginning of the season. Their head coach is definitely a defensive coach. They have a killer recruiting class. They dropped a commit. This is the funny thing. They dropped a commit with like 2 minutes left of the game when Kansas was driving.
He committed?
A commit to OU. No, he committed to OU while Kansas is driving to go for the go-ahead score. So trying to play a little shadow games and look, we got to commit. Yeah, we lost to Kansas, but we got to commit. So that was kind of interesting. The timing of that. He must have pulled his cell phone out and said, "Hey, text him like, can you commit now, because that would be great. Call Hayes, have him drop the graphic. That'd be great." But a Kansas team that was just at home. It was cold. It was nasty. Weather delay. They were ready to take on OU, and they never backed down 1 ounce in that game. They had a chip on their shoulder, and now they're a 5-3 program. And it's one of those things where
So you mean 7-1?
This is big. Or
7-1, you mean?
Who?
Oklahoma?
Kansas?
No, Kansas.
No,
Kansas is 5-3. No, they're 6-2.
Yeah, 6-2. So, and this is kind of big because Kansas hasn't been great in football in a very long time. They go out and they try to get Les Miles there, right? And then obviously the allegations came out, so they had to pivot off of that. So it seems like that they're doing good things there. They're starting to win games, and boy, if you go to Kansas come late October, November, you best buckle up your chin straps, tighten your belt, lace the cleats up, because you're going to have a hell of a game.
Kansas reminds me of the Mizzou of the Big 12, right? Going
Yeah,
to ruin
just
somebody's
they're pretty
season.
close.
And look, man, this is what just shows how impressive. Everyone tries to kind of find a way to count Georgia out. This shows how tough it is to win week in and week out, especially going on the road. Teams like Kansas, teams like Mizzou, where how do you get excited? I spoke with who said it? Was it Pouncey's? I was blessed enough to interview Mike Pouncey and Joe Hayden, and I kind of talked about just the energy and how do you? I think it was a Pouncey, bro, Mike Pouncey, and how do you get excited? Like, is this a real thing? Do you guys not get excited and hyped up for these games? He's like, if you can't get hyped up for the Florida Georgia game, then you shouldn't be here. He's like, well, look, as an NFL player, like we would go play the Jags, and when I played, the Jags sucked. Like, yeah, it was hard to get up for those games. Like, it wasn't, it was what it was. And same thing for college football. It's like sometimes you go to these games and yeah, it's easy to get flat-footed. And it's interesting to hear from a guy like that. Like, hey, you're playing it week in and week out. Like we as fans, like we rest all week and then we get fired up on Saturday, right?
No,
It was
grinding.
cool. Yeah, it was cool to get his perspective on it. But look, these are one of those games where I think the stat line, it was like Oklahoma hadn't lost to Kansas since like 1985 or something like that. I could be wrong, but it was a crazy stat and they hadn't lost in a while. And so you kind of walk in thinking that you're going to just roll right in. And you get absolutely clapped, but we'll see. Florida Man says, "Hey, thank you, Cody, for getting a haircut." We all agree. That right too says, "Love the podcast, bro. Go Gators. I need Billy to stop calling plays and get an OC." Thank you. I believe that he will. Q Lee is still thinking it's going to be Texas versus Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship, and I think it will be too. He said Texas will win, and I believe that as well too. I think Texas will get it done. B Bean says some are saying Georgia might four-peat. Let's win the third one first. Got to get through that one first. Remember when Kansas and Missouri were ranked in the top 3 in 2007 for their 11-0 and 11-0 matchup? Wish they still had that rivalry game. My goodness. What a time. What a time. FSU and Texas, Q Lee here, are the only ones that can beat UGA, especially FSU. Interesting. Maybe the firepower is where you're going there. I don't know, man. Carson Beck and the boys. I mean, that offense is scarier than I think people want to lead on. Ra Thompson, the other kid from Mizzou, I always forget his name. Top wide receiver coming out of that portal last year. $5 from Nathan P says, I just hopped in here, didn't even recognize Cody. I love it here, Cody. I love it.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, look, you're getting compliments.
At least
Cody.
I'm not getting drugged. Yeah, at least I'm not getting drugged like last week.
You're getting love. Well, Cody, good show. Good show.
Yeah. You want to roll out the top 5 real fast?
Oh, shit. Good call, Cody.
Updated?
Good call. I was rolling. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you. So top 5 here. We've got only small adjustment is going to be FSU sliding their way in there. I tried to keep them out as long as I possibly could, but couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. So they earned their spot. I mean, who else are we going to put up there, right? We said there's 8 teams undefeated. There's 5 of them there, and it's Liberty, Air Force, and JMU. So who else would we put up here? Nobody. You know what I mean? So this is your default top 5. You can ruffle it around the way you want. I think America has Georgia at number 1. I almost flipped it to this weekend just due to the Michigan allegations, but it's too much work to flip them, so I left it. But yeah, I mean, it's probably the easiest top 5 we've had all year. Now you could slide things around 1 or 2, but I think Georgia 1, Michigan 2. The rest of it's perfect.
I do ask you this about the Michigan. Could this stuff start affecting their day-to-day operation and game plan?
No. I don't think so. I think those guys are so used to it. I think I just don't think anybody. Now, if something comes out and he gets suspended and yes. But the talks of it all right now, no. I wouldn't be shocked if this is just noise until the end of the season and then hammers are dropped at the end of the season, to be honest with you.
Okay, so what happens if they win the national championship and then the NCAA strips them of it?
That's gonna be wild.
That's on the table.
It's gonna be wild. Yeah,
because
I don't know.
If they vacate wins that where they were caught cheating, right? Let's say it's Michigan UGA for the national championship. That means even if UGA loses, that means they would be the national champion.
So
they would get another natty.
That's a great point that they should probably, because of those things, if they're going to drop the ball, drop it. So because you don't want this to be the potential this is going to be the end of an era for college football because the Pac-12 is going away. We're expanding to a 12-team playoff. I mean, it's going to be a new era after this. You don't want we had the
SEC
BCS
expansion.
era. You don't want the original playoff era to end in bad taste. You don't have an asterisk when you're going through. So do you make that call as soon as possible? Maybe that's true.
So maybe Michigan, if they figure this out quick, maybe the NCAA vacates every win that they cheated on the sign stealing, and maybe they're not top 5 anymore.
Yeah, that would be probably the move, just to kind of avoid all of it, right? I mean, you vacate just 2 wins. If you're able to prove in 2 wins, it's over with. Maybe they got to move quick. They got to move quick. Then that's a good point. I didn't even think of that. Because you also too, you got to think you don't want the Big Ten championship having an asterisk next to it too, right?
No.
So
no, you got to let Wisconsin in. If they got caught cheating, you got to let Wisconsin to go play Ohio State.
Well, Wisconsin's going to be there. I mean, they're leaving their side anyway, so they should be in regardless of that win or loss. Huge stuff.
Oh yeah, so that they'll have to play Ohio State. Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to be. It's Penn State, who you were probably thinking about. Penn State lost to Michigan State.
Penn State. Yes.
Look, it's gonna be interesting, boys and girls. But hey, great show as always. Smash the like button. I appreciate you guys coming in here. 70 people in here hanging out with us on this Sunday afternoon. I think a lot of people are probably a little depressed after yesterday, and I totally understand that. But appreciate you guys coming in here, hanging out, jabbing it up with us as always. Tomorrow we'll be live with Champs Corner, Stephen Harris. Monday live at 8:35, and then of course on Wednesday, big time show, getting ready for that Arkansas game. So we're gonna turn over the page come tomorrow. But you guys be good. Cody, I love you. Until next time, I'm Sheldon.
I'm Cody the Professor.
Boogie, boys.
I'll see you later.